Imagine this. A blinding flash of light rips across the night sky. There is no explosion. There is no warning siren. In a fraction of a second, the entire power grid simply vaporizes. Your truck dies in the driveway. The lights go out in your home forever. And the absolute worst part? That $2,000 electronic smart optic sitting on top of your modern rifle just turned into a completely useless, incredibly expensive paperweight. Most guys today are being sold a very dangerous lie. The firearm industry, the elites, and the polished tactical influencers have convinced you that your survival depends on lithium batteries, infrared laser modules, and digital reticles. But when an EMP strikes, whether it is from a rogue nation's high-altitude detonation or a massive solar flare, the modern world shuts down in an instant. When all that high-tech gear you blew your hard-earned savings on is going to leave you totally defenseless in the dark. You do not need microchips. You need steel. You need raw, unforgiving, mechanical reliability. Today, we are exposing the modern tactical trap. We are breaking down the top 7 pure mechanical machines that will absolutely still spit LED when the entire world goes black. These are the firearms that rely on 100% physical mechanics, heavy springs and sheer brute force, no batteries, no fragile wires, just pure survival. And you need to stick around for number 1. I am going to reveal a legendary sidearm with so much raw, undeniable stopping power, it has earned the nickname the Fist of God. It requires zero technology to put threats in the dirt, and it is the ultimate equalizer. Well, hit that subscribe button right now to protect your family and stay ahead of the traps the industry is feeding you. Let's get to the list. Coming in at number 7, we have the ultimate peasant rifle that has outlived empires. I am talking about the Mosin Nagant M9130. If you go to a modern shooting range today, you will see a lot of guys snickering at the man unpacking a Mosin. The mainstream gun community looks at this rifle like it is an outdated, clumsy relic. They are clutching their $3,000 precision chassis rifles with Bluetooth-enabled ballistics calculators, thinking they own the absolute peak of survival tools. But when the grid collapses, the sky goes dark, and those calculators go totally dead. The joke is going to be on them. Well, the Mosin Nagant was not built for a climate-controlled indoor range. It was engineered for uneducated, working-class, conscript soldiers who needed a weapon they could drag through the freezing mud, drop in a frozen trench, and still use to defend their lives the next morning. The heart of this beast is a bolt-action mechanism that is basically just a massive, forged chunk of hardened steel. There are no tight tolerances to get fouled up by carbon or dirt. There are no delicate firing pins that snap when you look at them wrong. Sometimes you literally have to slap that bolt with the palm of your hand just to run it. And that is exactly the kind of brute force reliability you desperately need when there is no gunsmith around to fix your broken toys. Let us talk about the aiming system. While the tactical crowd is crying over fried red dots and dead holographic sights, the Mosin rocks crude, indestructible iron sights. The rear sight is a heavy slider over a notched steel block. An electromagnetic pulse does not care about solid steel, and steel certainly does not care about an electromagnetic pulse. You can drop this rifle on a concrete floor, pick it up, and still hit a man-sized target at 300 yards. Now, I am not going to lie to you and pretend it is perfect. This rifle has its real-world drawbacks. It kicks like an absolute mule, leaving your shoulder deeply bruised if you do not know how to pull it in tight. It is also ridiculously long, feeling more like a boat oar than a tactical weapon when you're trying to clear a tight hallway inside your home. But out in the open, defending your property line, it is a sheer monster. It fires the massive 7.62 by 54mm R cartridge. That is a devastating, heavy-hitting round that easily matches the modern .308 in raw ballistic power. It will drop heavy game to feed your starving family, and it will punch right through the engine block of a scavenger's truck if they come rolling up your driveway looking to take what is yours. You used to be able to buy these in wooden crates for pocket change. Those days are permanently gone, and prices are climbing fast as smart preppers hoard them. But compared to a useless piece of fried modern technology, the Mosin Nagant is a priceless insurance policy. The Mosin proves that crude, heavy engineering wins in a global catastrophe. But what if you need something much faster and much more terrifying for close quarters chaos in the dark? Coming in at number 6, we have the undisputed king of close quarter survival. I am talking about the classic pump-action 12-gauge shotgun. Whether you choose the Mossberg 500 or the Remington 870, this is a weapon you absolutely must have when the lights go out permanently. There is a massive trend right now in the tactical community, pushing expensive imported semi-automatic shotguns. The industry tells you that you need a slick gas-operated or inertia-driven system to shoot fast and look like a high-speed operator. But let me tell you the brutal truth about those fancy guns. Those complex semi-autos require specific lubricants, perfectly clean gas ports, and unbroken rubber O-rings to cycle properly. And when the supply chains completely collapse and you cannot just order replacement parts off the internet, a jammed semi-auto shotgun is nothing but a clumsy, expensive club. A true pump-action shotgun does not care about gas pressures or perfect maintenance. It runs on 100% pure human muscle. You pull the heavy pump back, and it physically drags the spent hull out. You slam it forward, and it forces a fresh shell into the chamber. It is a completely mechanical, brute force action that relies on thick dual steel action bars and a heavy locking block. It will cycle cheap bird shot, heavy buckshot, or massive lead slugs without skipping a single beat. If a shell gets a little dirty or deformed, you just muscle it into the chamber. You are the engine. And let us talk about aiming when the world is chaotic. You do not need a $300 holographic sight to defend your hallway. These shotguns come with a simple brass or steel bead right at the end of the barrel. It has no fragile wires. It takes no batteries. It can never be fried by an electromagnetic pulse. You just bring the gun up, put that little metal bead on the target, and pull the trigger. Yes, there are drawbacks you need to accept. A pump gun has serious recoil that will test your shoulder, and it has a very limited magazine capacity. Reloading it one shell at a time under the extreme stress of a home invasion takes serious practice. If you short-stroke the pump because you are terrified and moving too fast, you will jam the weapon yourself. But the psychological power of this machine is completely unmatched. Picture this nightmare scenario. The power grid is totally dead. There are no streetlights. The police are never ever coming. You hear a window shatter downstairs and heavy footsteps moving toward your family. In the dead silence of a total blackout, the violent, heavy steel clack-clack of a 12-gauge pump being racked is a universal language. It instantly communicates exactly what is about to happen to whoever is in the dark. For the price of a couple of tankfuls of gas, you can buy peace of mind that no EMP can ever destroy. But a shotgun is heavy, and 12-gauge ammunition will weigh you down incredibly fast. What if you have to abandon your home on foot and need a practical tool to keep yourself alive in the woods for months? Coming in at number 5, we are looking at the absolute most practical survival tool on the planet. I am talking about the legendary Ruger 1022. Right now, the armchair commandos and the tactical snobs on the internet laugh at the 22 long rifle cartridge. They call it a child's toy. They think a post-EMP world is going to be a non-stop Hollywood action movie where you are constantly trading heavy fire with rogue warlords. But here is the terrifying reality they are completely ignoring. When the power grid drops, the supermarkets will be violently emptied by panicked mobs in less than 4 hours. You are far more likely to quietly starve to death in the woods than you are to die in a massive gunfight. You do not always need overwhelming, deafening firepower. You need daily protein. The Ruger 1022 is a masterpiece of brilliant mechanical simplicity. It operates on a pure blowback design. There are no delicate gas rings, no complex piston systems, and absolutely no fragile electronics. When you pull the trigger, the explosive pressure of the tiny cartridge simply pushes a solid steel bolt backward against a stout spring, ejecting the spent brass and stripping a new round from the legendary rotary magazine. That is it. It is raw physics in action, and an electromagnetic pulse cannot do a single thing to stop it. Let us talk about the massive hidden advantage that the tactical industry never mentions: carrying weight. If you are forced to abandon your dead vehicle and travel on foot, weight equals survival. A brick of 500 rounds of .22 long rifle is about the size of a thick paperback book and weighs practically nothing. You can easily throw 2,000 rounds into your bug-out bag without breaking your back or slowing down your pace. Try carrying 2,000 rounds of 12-gauge shotgun shells or heavy rifle ammunition on your back. You would collapse from pure physical exhaustion in the first 5 miles. And when it comes to aiming, the standard 10-22 relies on old-school, rock-solid factory iron sights. You get a folding rear leaf sight and a simple beat up front. They never run out of battery. They never glitch out. They just work, allowing you to silently take squirrels, rabbits, and birds to keep your family fed while the rest of the world goes hungry. Now, we have to be completely blunt about its limitations. The 22 cartridge is absolutely not a reliable man-stopper if you are forced into a violent self-defense situation. Furthermore, cheap rim-fire ammunition is notoriously dirty, and you will occasionally get a dead primer that just clicks instead of firing. But when it comes to long-term survival, keeping your belly full is half the battle. Before we move into the serious heavy hitters on this list, I want to stop and ask you a very real question. If the power grid crashed tomorrow and never came back on, would you rather be holding a high-tech AR packed with dead, expensive optics, or a pure, heavy mechanical battle rifle? Drop your choice down in the comments below, because the real survival community needs to hear the truth, not the industry hype. Now let us talk about the ultimate standard of the apocalypse. Coming in at number 4 is the undisputed global standard of the apocalypse. I am talking about the legendary AK-47, or more accurately for the modern world, the stamped receiver AKM platform. The modern American gun industry has spent decades successfully brainwashing you into believing that a reliable rifle must be incredibly expensive, tightly fitted, and require surgical precision to maintain. They love to sell you modern sporting rifles with tolerances so impossibly tight that a single grain of sand, a blown primer, or a lack of specialized synthetic lubrication can turn your primary defense weapon into a jammed, worthless metal rod. They have convinced an entire generation of shooters that you need a sterile environment just to clean your bolt carrier group. That is a dangerous elitist trap designed to drain your wallet. The AKM was born for the absolute worst places on Earth, places where the power grid never existed in the first place, and maintenance is a luxury nobody can afford. It is a pure mechanical beast designed with intentionally loose tolerances. The gaps inside the receiver are massive compared to Western rifles. This is not a manufacturing flaw. It is a brilliant, intentional survival feature. When thick mud, freezing rain, ash, or heavy carbon buildup gets inside this rifle, the gun absolutely refuses to seize up. The massive heavy steel bolt carrier simply plows violently right through the debris, forcing the gun to cycle using pure physical momentum. It is driven by an oversized heavy hammer spring that strikes the firing pin with so much raw force that it will ignite even the cheapest, most stubborn military surplus ammunition you can scavenge in a post-collapse wasteland. Let us talk about aiming. While the tactical snobs are crying over their dead EMP-fried optical sights, you will be looking down a set of crude but brutally effective forged steel V-notch sights. There is no fragile glass to shatter. There are no delicate circuits to burn out when the sky lights up. You simply line up the heavy steel post, pull the trigger, and let the massive long-stroke gas piston do its violent work. But let us keep it absolutely real and talk about the downsides. The AK platform is definitely not a precision sniper rifle. If you are expecting to shoot perfectly tight groups at 500 yards to impress your friends at a local country club shooting range, you are looking at the wrong weapon entirely. It is heavy, the ergonomics are completely unrefined, and the safety lever is a loud, a clunky piece of sheet metal that will scrape the paint off the receiver. Furthermore, the days of buying a cheap AK out of a barrel at a hardware store are permanently gone, as import bans have driven prices steadily upward. But in a total grid-down, catastrophic scenario, you do not need surgical precision. You need a rugged machine firing a devastating 7.62 by 39 cartridge that will run every single time you pull the trigger, even if you have not cleaned it in 3 long years. However, what if you need to reach out and drop a threat from a massive distance, punching right through heavy cover with absolute authority? Coming in at number 3 we have a handgun that represents the pinnacle of wheelgun reliability. The Smith & Wesson Model 10 revolver, chambered in .38 Special. Modern tactical influencers will tell you that you need the latest striker-fired semi-automatic pistol, complete with a polymer frame, high-capacity magazines, and of course, an electronic red dot sight for faster target acquisition. They'll talk about kinetic energy transfer and follow-up shot speed, but here's what they won't tell you about those complex modern pistols. They are dependent on pristine magazines with perfect spring tension, a feeding ramp free of any debris, and specific lubrication. Drop one of those polymer wonders in thick mud or let a single grain of grit get into the magazine, and you are holding a single-shot pistol, or worse, a paperweight. And that fancy red dot? One EMP blast, and the reticle is gone forever, leaving you trying to aim through a piece of dark, glass-covered metal. And the Smith & Wesson Model 10, in stark contrast, is a mechanical masterpiece of elegant simplicity. It doesn't rely on complex gas or recoil systems to cycle. Its operation is driven entirely by the physical energy of your trigger pull. When you pull that heavy double-action trigger, you are mechanically rotating the cylinder, aligning a fresh cartridge, and cocking and releasing the hammer. It's a system of robust gears, levers, and a hand, all working in perfect mechanical harmony. An electromagnetic pulse can't do a single thing to stop this process. Mud, dirt, and grit are far less likely to cause a catastrophic failure, as the entire cylinder and action are far more enclosed and simplified compared to a semi-auto slide and magazine assembly. Let's talk about aiming. The Model 10 typically sports a classic, fixed groove rear sight milled directly into the steel frame and a simple fixed blade front sight. No batteries to fail, no fragile glass to crack, no electronics to burn out. You get rock-solid, mechanical aiming points that are ready to go every single time you present the weapon. Now we have to address the real-world compromises. 6 rounds. That's what you get. In a chaotic situation, 6 shots might not feel like enough, and reloading this weapon, even with speed loaders, is a slow and deliberate process that requires significant practice. The double-action trigger pull is also heavy and long, making it more challenging to shoot accurately for many people compared to the crisp, light trigger of a modern striker-fired pistol. But for all its limitations, the Model 10 offers a level of raw, mechanical it-just-works assurance that is nearly impossible to match. A well-maintained Model 10 is an heirloom quality tool that will be just as functional 100 years from now as it is today, completely unaffected by the collapse of the modern power grid. It fires the common and relatively gentle .38 Special round, a cartridge that has served law enforcement and civilians for over a century, which means ammunition might still be readily available long after the supply lines have gone dead. The Model 10 proves that when your life depends on it, less can truly be more. But as robust as this 6-shot revolver is, the number 2 spot is held by a truly untouchable mechanical giant of a battle rifle, a gun that dominated entire continents before electronics were even a dream. And coming in at number 2 is a weapon that defines the very concept of a heavy-duty battle rifle. I am talking about the mighty Springfield M1A, the civilian counterpart to the legendary M14. The modern tactical industry has spent the last 2 decades aggressively pushing the 5.56 AR-15 platform. They have convinced you that you need a lightweight aluminum rifle completely covered in battery-powered LPVOS, offset red dots, and infrared laser modules to be truly prepared. They think a small varmint cartridge and a magnifying prism are the ultimate survival combination. But what happens when the grid dies, the glass inevitably shatters, or the electronics permanently fry in an EMP flash? You are left holding a low-caliber rifle with absolutely no way to aim it reliably at distance. The M1A is a stark, brutal rejection of that modern fragility. This is a machine from an era when rifles were forged from heavy carbon steel and set into solid American walnut or dense fiberglass. It operates on a massive heavy-duty gas cylinder, an operating rod system that violently drives a massive rotating bolt. There are no delicate gas rings to fail. There are no microscopic pins to snap under pressure, It is a heavy, rhythmic, mechanical powerhouse designed to function in the worst conditions imaginable. But the real magic of the M1A, the reason it claims the #2 spot on this list, is its aiming system. The iron sights on this rifle are arguably the greatest mechanical combat sights ever engineered by human hands. The rear peep sight is fully adjustable for windage and elevation with heavy tactile mechanical clicks. You do not need a $3,000 piece of glowing glass to hit a man-sized target at 600 yards with this rifle. The mechanical geometry of the peep sight forces your human eye to naturally center the front post. It relies entirely on optical physics, requiring absolutely zero batteries, wires, or microchips. Then there is the sheer, terrifying consequence of the round it fires. When law and order completely collapse, desperate threats are not going to stand perfectly still in the open for you. They are going to hide behind abandoned cars, cinder block walls, and heavy timber. A lightweight modern round will shatter or deflect. But a massive 168-grain 308 Winchester round fired from a 22-inch barrel will punch violently right through most urban cover and absolutely destroy whatever is hiding behind it. Of course, we have to look at the harsh reality of carrying this beast. It is incredibly heavy. Lugging a 10-pound rifle, plus steel magazines loaded with heavy 308 ammunition, will drain your physical stamina faster than you can imagine. And because the action is exposed, dropping it in thick, wet mud with the bolt locked open can cause debris to foul the operating rod. But if you are holding down a fixed position, protecting your family and your property against a coordinated threat, the M1A is an absolute fortress of mechanical reliability. Yet, even this massive battle rifle cannot be in your hands every single second of the day. You cannot wear it around your house or keep it tucked in your belt when you are forced to sleep. When things get up close, violently personal, and absolutely desperate in the dead of night, you need a sidearm that commands absolute, undeniable authority. You need a piece of history that requires zero technology to end a fight instantly. Which brings us to the #1 spot. It is time to unveil the fist of God. We have finally reached the #1 spot. At the very beginning of this video, I warned you about a sidearm so devastating, so completely independent of modern technology, that it earned the nickname the Fist of God. If the power grid dies tonight and the world descends into absolute, permanent darkness, sure, this is the mechanical beast you want sitting on your nightstand. I am talking about the legendary 1911 chambered in 45 CP. If you bring up the 1911 in a modern tactical internet forum, you will be laughed out of the room by guys wearing matching camouflage who have never actually been in a real fight. They will tell you it is an obsolete boomer-tier relic. They will scream about its limited 7 or 8 round magazine capacity. They will mock its heavy steel frame, claiming you desperately need a lightweight polymer pistol holding 20 rounds of 9mm so you can shoot incredibly fast. But they are completely missing the terrifying reality of a post-collapse grid-down scenario. When someone violently breaks into your home in pitch-black darkness, you are not going to be getting into a drawn-out, high-speed Hollywood shootout requiring 30-round magazines. You are going to be operating on raw adrenaline, sheer terror, and primal instinct. You need maximum trauma with every single press of the trigger. The 1911 was designed by John Moses Browning well over a century ago, specifically to put drugged-up, fanatical threats permanently into the dirt with one single shot. It does not run on delicate gas systems or fragile synthetic parts. It operates on a brilliant, brutally effective short recoil mechanism. The entire gun is a massive, interlocking puzzle of forged steel. There is a heavy recoil spring and a solid steel slide that cycle with the authoritative rhythm of an industrial machine. This is a weapon that survived the mud of trench warfare, the freezing rain of the frozen Chosin Reservoir, and the thick, humid jungles of Vietnam. An EMP is literally a joke to this pistol. It operates purely on the physical laws of kinetic energy, mechanical leverage, and heavy leaf springs. Let us talk about why it holds the Fist of God title. It fires the massive, incredibly heavy 45 automatic Colt pistol cartridge. We are talking about 230 grains of flying LED. While smaller, modern calibers rely on extreme velocity and perfectly engineered hollow point expansion to do their job, The 45 ACP does not really need to expand to be devastating. It is already massive. If your high-tech 9mm hollow points get plugged with heavy winter clothing, which happens all the time, they act like standard ball ammunition and just punch clean. Small holes. A 45 ACP hits like a speeding sledgehammer, dumping massive kinetic energy into the threat and dropping them instantly. In the dark, when your vision is compromised and you are just point shooting by sheer survival instinct, you do not have to rely on perfect surgical shot placement. One center mass hit ends the discussion permanently. And as for aiming, you absolutely do not need a fragile electronic dot. A proper survival 1911 uses heavy, solid steel sights perfectly dovetailed right into the steel slide. They are practically welded in place. You can violently rack the slide of this pistol using your heavy leather boot, a wooden table, or a concrete wall if one of your arms is injured. And those iron sights will not budge a single millimeter. Yes, the gun is heavy. Yes, it requires you to actively train your muscle memory to swipe down the manual thumb safety. But when you wrap your hand around the cold steel grip of a 1911 in the dead of night, knowing there is a massive 45 caliber round sitting in the chamber, you feel a level of absolute unshakable confidence that no plastic, battery-powered toy could ever give you. It is the ultimate mechanical insurance policy against a chaotic world. The harsh truth of the matter is that modern technology is a trap of convenience. We have allowed the corporate firearm industry to successfully convince us that our survival depends on glowing glass, lithium batteries, and digital applications. But physics and history do not care about your expensive optics when the lights finally go out. When a catastrophic EMP strikes, the survivors will not be the guys with the most expensive, battery-dependent loadouts. The survivors will be the quiet, prepared men and women holding pure, unforgiving mechanical steel. Do not wait for the grid to collapse to realize your high-tech arsenal is just a useless pile of scrap metal. If you want to stop getting scammed by the polished industry hype and learn the actual, unfiltered truth about keeping your family alive, you need to hit that subscribe button right now. Do not let the algorithms hide this channel from you when you need it most. And if you have a friend or a family member who is sitting on a safe full of battery-powered polymer guns, thinking he is ready for the apocalypse, share this video with him immediately before he makes a fatal mistake. Stay sharp, trust in steel, and never stop preparing.